Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Anthony.
Present.
Just a minute, let me get my mic over here. We'll note Clerk Bennett is present. Trustee Dinopoulos.
Here.
Supervisor LaJoy.
Here.
Treasurer McLaughlin.
Here.
Trustee Taj.
Present.
Trustee Williams.
Hello.
We have one adjustment to make in the agenda this evening. The recognition is going to have to be postponed. We're going to be recognizing Connor McKinney, who's a Canton resident, a young man who achieved, through the United States Air Force, a full medical school scholarship through his achievements at the Air Force Academy. So we're going to recognize him. He happens to be in South America doing extra work, providing medical supplies to the needy. I think he's in Brazil actually right now, unable obviously to make it for this evening, but we will be getting that recognition done hopefully sometime during the summer. Other than that, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I move to adopt the agenda deleting the recognition of Connor McKinney.
Second.
In a second. Any discussion on the agenda at all? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. We have one set of minutes for your approval this evening. That's for the minutes of June 26th.
I move to approve the regular board minutes dated June 26, 2012.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Now we move on to citizens' non-agenda item comments. Is there any citizen who would like to make a comment? Mr. Miller, you wish to make a comment?
George Miller, 1946, Briarfield, Canton. A couple questions I ask, and I'd like to know how it's progressing, the ditch cleaning on Palmer Road. Update on that, Mr. Foss. We're supposed to touch base with the county.
Okay. Bill Surchak is here this evening. He's our township engineer. I know you've been in contact with the county.
Yes, we have talked to the county. They don't have a resolution on what they're going to do or if they're going to do anything.
What can we do to
Well, one
solve
of the
the
things
problem?
you
There's
might
money in the township coffers for that.
What you might want to do, Mr. Miller, is you might want to also give the representative from Wayne County,
We've done
give him
that.
a
We
call.
took up a petition also of about 50 people in the neighborhood.
Yes. But we're somewhat limited. We can't tell the county what to do. We can certainly ask them, try to encourage them, try to coax them into it, but we're at the mercy of them doing it.
Wasn't there a township schedule of ditch cleaning in this township 10, 20 years ago with Mr. Dingleday?
I don't know.
Didn't they have a crew kind of doing that?
George, I may be mistaken, but I seem to remember that at one time we shared a co-responsibility to do that. And I believe at some point in time, it was a lot of years ago, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that the county accepted responsibility for cleaning those ditches. And I think that we kind of superseded to them to take care of those issues, and that the township has not really been involved in regular ditch cleaning for a number of years.
Well, what can we do? Like I said, there's money in township to do some of this.
We don't
it's
have
getting so
really.
bad it's starting to flood some of the areas.
I don't know where you get the idea there's money in the township for ditch cleaning. I mean, we really don't have it. I don't know if the budget
it was
item
mentioned here in the meeting.
I think you might have been referring to the county. We don't really have a ditch cleaning item that I'm aware of. Is that correct?
No, and
There's no money set aside in the township
Not in
coffers for
Canton.
that?
No.
Well, the next question I have is on the gun range. What can be done to improve that? And I asked some time ago on the noise and cleaning up the lead, all the shooting. And evidently Canton, when they keep track of how many times they shoot there, I'd like to know why when other townships or police departments shoot there, why they can't keep track of that also. If we can't, why can't they?
Well, I think they came up with a number of something like 250 rounds per year go through that range. And
It's more than 250 rounds Canton shoots there per year.
I'm sorry,
You said there's 250 rounds?
250,000
Yeah,
rounds.
just Canton probably.
Well, I think it's total. Isn't that correct, Director?
I think it's on top of ours, so
On
that's
top of
probably
ours?
what other departments shoot.
They give me a letter, and it figures out whatever it figured out to. Only Canton Township, nobody else. Everyone's in this meeting, you guys tell me it can't be done. You can do it for Canton. If there's 10 people shooting there, 20, they know how much they're going to shoot for the target practice. I'd like to know why if we can keep track of it, why can't they?
Yeah.
Then you know how much lead problem there's, and what can be done to make that, to retrieve that lead.
Well, I think right now they're looking into that. They're doing
They
some
have
studies.
methods for retrieving that, recycling it.
Yeah, and I think they're looking into opportunities to do it.
Well, could we have an update how it's coming along? And the next thing is, I'd like to know, Mrs. Cuddle over there, she couldn't make it evidently today. When that can be grandfathered in, that kennel over there.
Again, Mr.
Now,
Miller,
update on that.
we are looking in depth at that ordinance, the animal ordinance, but we're not there yet. So we're going to look at every aspect of that, and we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at all the rest of the items that the suggestions and taking a look at the comments that the board made at the study session that we had. So that's still a work in progress.
That particular establishment's been there since about 45 or 46.
Right.
Mr.
Any other
I can tell you
comments?
that Mrs. Caudell did call, and she indicated that she was going to work on getting her facility a bit cleaner, and then she was going to call for an inspection, and then she would be, making her application for a kennel license.
She's going to be grandfathered in, correct?
Well, she would still pay a fee like anybody else.
Yeah, but the last time I was at the meeting, it was only 2 other kennels. Hers
Right,
is not
right,
included,
because she had, right,
included
because
any way, shape, or form, I believe.
Again, we're going to be dealing with the whole animal ordinance, the kennel. It's all work in progress, working on it. But thank you very much for your comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving on now here. Now we move on to payment of the bills.
Mr. Supervisor, I would move that the bills be paid as presented.
Second. Any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, all in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Now the clerk will read the one item on the consent calendar.
I move to set the public hearing for August 14th, 2012, to consider the personal property exemption application for Walgreens personal property at their facility located at 41460 Haggerty Circle.
Support.
All in favor of the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Move on now to the general calendar. First item, first reading of an amendment to the Township Court of Ordinances, amending Chapter 54, Peddlers and Solicitors, Article 1, in general, and Article 2, license, in order to update the registration and licensing requirements, to modify permissible solicitation hours, and add a provision to allow suspension prior to revocation of a license.
I move to introduce and table for consideration the first reading of an amendment to the Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, Peddlers and Solicitors. I further move to publish the amendment on July 19th, 2012, and consider removing it from the table for adoption on July 24th, with a publication and effective date of August 2nd, 2012.
Second.
In response to a request from a resident to review the hours during which peddling and solicitation is permitted in the township, along with the request from Public Safety to review the criteria for issuance or denial of a solicitation permit, and in light of recent case law lessening or eliminating registration requirements for non-commercial businesses, an in-depth review of Chapter 54 was undertaken. As a result of a number of changes are being proposed to the ordinance. These changes were discussed in detail at a study session on June 19th, 2012. Kristen Kolb, our Township Attorney, is here and available for questions or comments. Kristen, I'll go to you.
Good evening, first of all. Just a couple of brief comments. this ordinance, the discussion was pretty well in agreement with the changes that were made. There was one question that came out of the study session back on the 19th, and that had to do specifically with Liberty Fest and our vendors and how they are, permitted. And I did, through the Leisure Services Department, I did pose that question, and the response that I got back was because it's a township-sponsored event, we don't require a permit. They are sort of encompassed as part of the event. However, those individual vendors do apply, make an application to the township to be included as part of that. But again, because it's a township-wide event, we don't require them to get a separate peddler's or solicitor's permit for that event.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the model resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Moving on now to the next item. First reading of amendment to Township Court of Ordinances, amending Chapter 46, Article 1, Division 3, fireworks.
I move to introduce and table for consideration the first reading of an amendment to the Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 46, Article 1, Division 3, fireworks, and I further move to publish the amendment on July 19th and consider removing it from the table for adoption July 24th with publication date effective August 2nd.
Support.
As the Board is aware, Public Act 256 of the Public Acts of 2011 ushered in some lesser restrictions on both the regulation of fireworks sales in the state of Michigan as well as the discharge of certain consumer fireworks on certain days. As was discussed at the study session on June 19th, a permit must be obtained from the state to sell consumer fireworks. Additionally, municipalities cannot regulate the discharge of fireworks on the day preceding, the day of, or the day after a national holiday. Can, however, regulate the discharge of fireworks up to a total prohibition on every other day of the year. After considering two versions of a text amendment at a study session, the Board directed proceeding with the version that prohibited the discharge of consumer fireworks on the days the Township could, except in the case of permit issued by the Township after discussions with the Deputy Fire Chief. A text amendment is being presented which contains a permit requirement for the days the Township can regulate with certain enumerated conditions, including but not limited to inspection by the fire department. In addition to the permit requirement, other amendments are being proposed to Chapter 46 to bring this chapter in line with this new state law. And it's also my understanding we're looking at some policies, we're looking at the noise ordinance, we're looking at this is kind of a work in progress. If we get this done tonight, we're certainly going to be monitoring it. There's a lot going on in Lansing right now, a lot of discussion about possibly making changes to the state law. A lot of people are rethinking what they did. So we're just going to be ready to do whatever we need to do to make sure we're in a good position. Correct?
Correct. Yep, we've heard from the author of Act 256 who says he's going to look at tweaking the bill. I have no idea in what area, but we will certainly watch for that. And, we're hoping it gives a little more control back to the local municipalities. Obviously, we've just had the July 4th holiday, and I don't know about you folks, but where I live, there was fireworks every night, some very late hours, to the point that I myself called the police because it was just ridiculous. This proposed text amendment that's in front of you tonight, again, is taking advantage of the fact that we do have some control on all but, 30 days of the year, and we're going to prohibit it. But in line with the discussions that we had at the study session and recognizing that some people do shoot off fireworks as part of various celebrations, we're going to put a permit requirement into the ordinance with some conditions listed directly in the ordinance and the possibility for additional conditions to be added based on the specific circumstances under which those fireworks would be shot off by individuals. So I had discussions with the Deputy Fire Chief and we came up with this list of conditions that's in there. If there's other suggestions, we can certainly add them in between now and a second reading of this text amendment. But keep in mind that, again, based on circumstances and because the discretion is with the Township, we could add more in as applications are brought in. So This removes township control over the sale from an ordinance specifically aimed at fireworks. Obviously, we've got some good backup, if you will, that we can still control land use through our zoning ordinance. But with respect specifically to fireworks, this removes areas we can't control and adds some language in on the areas that we can. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Trustee Williams?
Yeah, first question is, we had asked or talked about trying to put time limits on it, and we weren't able to do that on the 3 days.
I can't see anything that would allow us to do that on the days that we can't regulate it. If something comes down that says that we can, we would certainly want to amend the ordinance, but at this point, I don't know that that's a fight that we want to have.
I did hear that's going to be one of the things Lansing's going to try to do, is that put time limits on it. The other thing is we did get an opinion that people can make a noise complaint, and the court would entertain a noise complaint over the fireworks. So you had two things clashing there. The opinion was the noise complaint will still be valid, no matter what the fireworks law said, and then they'd have to sort it out in court. But hopefully that gets fixed.
And another, I guess, comments, and looking for a little bit of feedback from you, Chief, is where was it going to go? In our neighborhood, didn't seem to be any more or less, which kind of surprised me. I expected to see a lot more during the week. But one of the guys at lunch today said, well, the police department should appreciate now they don't have to go chasing their tails in circles after people. Were the number of calls more or less same? Did you tell some people, hey, state law says can't do anything? How'd you react?
Yeah, there was definitely some of that our hands are tied. The only time we would really respond is if the call deemed that the setting off of the fireworks was dangerous in any kind of public safety way, or B, back to the noise complaint. Like it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I can't sleep. Otherwise, the state law at this point was allowing a lot of that. So number of calls coming in did not diminish, probably were up, because the difference between previous years and now this year is not the number of fireworks, but as you guys know, the boom, the big boom that you get now. Our take on it is we will enforce, the ordinance will enforce the state law. Our sort of informal kickback was that the community's not real thrilled with how this thing's gone so far. So, of course, we don't hear from the other side, so it's sort of unfair to say, but we'll react accordingly.
There were a slew of stories in the newspaper about people getting injured, and does the state law, because before it was banned, it was illegal, but now that it's legal, to the degree, does the state law have a provision that you can't be intoxicated lighting off these fireworks?
Yes. Yep, you can't be a minor, you can't possess them or discharge them if you're a minor, and you can't be intoxicated.
It was noisy.
Any other comments?
It was very noisy and bigger, But I where I am, I'm not terribly impacted because I don't live near anybody. But I have to think. I would be in favor of seeing some fairly significant modifications to this open gates that happened here. But I do think that the 4th of July, of course, is going to be the premier holiday on which these things are going to go off. And this being the first real holiday that, the awareness of the new permission, if you will, was available, that it probably was excessive because it was new. And, I think that people probably, were enthusiastic about their opportunities. Type of thing. I don't know that there'll be a lot going on in February for George Washington's birthday. Maybe I'm wrong. But, I think that, certainly the folks that live close in and friends of mine that have, commented that have very near neighbors, went out the next morning and found shells in their yard and damage to their home and things like this, and that's not fair. And so I think that they have to do something to make this more rational.
Any other comments or questions, John?
What do the vendors do with all the fireworks on the 5th of July? Where they store
I
them?
think they're running sales right now. I really do. I think they're out there still running
Half off.
sales.
Yeah.
There were tents selling all up and down Ford Road, all
Right.
around.
And the other thing we'd like to see is a little tweak maybe on the weather. I mean, this year was very unusual, but it's very dry out there. Shooting a combustible projectile up in the air and not knowing where it's going to land on this dry. I mean, so far so good. So.
Well, and just a point for the board, we had a call today that was seeking an inquiry on how they could continue to sell in Canton.
Yeah, unfortunately, the sales we really have no control over other than through our land use ordinances. But, you can sell them 24/7. Number one, if you've got a permit from the state, and number two, if your sales location complies with the act. So.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the model resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Moving on now, the next calendar item. Consider the award of a contract to Soul Construction for the repair of sanitary sewer lead at 3950 Sheldon Road.
I move to award a contract for the repair of the sanitary sewer lead at 3950 Sheldon Road to Soul Construction for a not-to-exceed amount of $9,200.
Support.
The sanitary sewer servicing the residents at that address on Sheldon Road was found to be damaged in 2011. A temporary repair was completed by Public Works Division staff. However, a damaged section still remains under the pavement along Sheldon Road, and a contractor with the proper construction equipment will be required to replace this section of pipe under the road by directional drilling methods. 3 bids were received for the repair. Soul Construction of Westland is the lowest qualified bid for an amount of $9,200. Again, Township Engineer Bill Surchak is here. If there's any board questions or comments, or do you have a comment at all on it, Bill?
No.
Are there any
Just really simple
questions?
question.
Sure.
And you don't have to get technical. Directional drilling, what is that? Short answer, not the...
You've seen it a lot on the highway with the people that put in the communications lines. You sit up and you drill down, and you can actually guide the drill. So it's less invasive than digging a big pit.
It's like a root canal.
Rotor rooter. Rotor rooter. Okay, gotcha.
A little less destructive.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of awarding the contract for the repair of a sanitary sewer lead at 3950 Sheldon Road to Soul Construction, say aye.
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 All against, same sign. The ayes have it.